Hi, I'm Rob Skiff, and we're here on Wednesday afternoon in the final session of the day. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the portfolio and looking at skills and how the skills portfolio is going to integrate. Let me just review. We talked about skills um, in an earlier session. Okay, and this is going live over the web, correct? The Think Skills and Courses. Whoops. On. Is this being shown on the web, Daniel?
How do you mean? Yes, this be showing on the web?
In terms of, yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, let me just go to that screen. Let me just get it to do the editing function. So we're going to talk a little bit about the portfolio system, and I'm just going to talk very, very quickly in terms of the Oplerno system, the portfolio system that we have. Very quickly to recap, rather than just relying on diplomas, we need to be thinking about portfolios, about demonstration of skills that people have and being able to document that. Remember what we've said a bunch of different times is transcripts don't really tell us the real story about what a student has learned, what they've accomplished. This doesn't have really a great amount of information. Instead, what Oplerno is developing is this notion of a skills portfolio, which shows a web of knowledge, records examples of skills that uses video, audio, and text-based technology, and it's signed off. What's different about Oplerno's portfolio is that there's an auditing function, meaning that if when a student submits work to document a skill, that skill is signed off by the teacher. And there's an example of the work of the student that an employer or someone can look at, and then there's also the sign-off of the teacher saying, hey, I've looked at this example, it's the correct example from my class, and I am signing off that this student has demonstrated the corresponding skill in the portfolio. But think about how much more useful that is for employers finding people who know how to do things, and also for employees who may be searching for the perfect job to match their skills, the skills progression. So one big thing about the portfolio system, remember it's important to, right now we're in this transition period, degrees are still important, but what has to be integrated into all learning is this documentation of skills and competencies in particular areas while an individual earns a degree. And then we talked about, I talked a little bit about it that session, about the challenges that were going to be faced as we moved forward. So it's the challenge of pedagogical transitions, having faculty think differently, and having students think about, it's not just the grades or the classes that you need to think about, you really need to think about how you're going to be documenting the skills and showing people, and about how most of the technological issues associated with the portfolio is solved, about how transcripts, as they transition into this portfolio system, it's about video, audio, and text documentation, and that you document critical thinking and problem solving. How do you do this? How do you document critical thinking, problem solving, and other, quote, soft skills? And again, our big challenge is, as we're changing and as we're transitioning to this system, what are teachers going to think about the auditing function? No more social passing. So in this session for us, whoops, let me go to the Hangout. So in this session, what I wanted to do is Daniel, who is our genius with technology, he is an integral part in the design of the portfolio system, and I wanted him to talk a little bit about some of the security features and how he's thinking about the programming in terms of the development. But this is a real collaborative team we have at Oplerno, and we are really, really lucky to have Daniel as our director of technology. He's built the marketplace. He's done the open API integration between Marketplace and Canvas, and he and Dan Kirk are an amazing team to really push us forward with the tech and the faculty support and the student support as we are building this open learning organization, Oplerno, that you all can take advantage of in terms of production of your classes. So again, if you have questions, feel free to tweet them to us at hashtag woodblock. Send them to questions at Oplerno. Questions at Oplerno.com, or shout out very loudly on the planet so we can hear you, and we'll answer the questions. So, Daniel, why don't you say a little bit about your vision of the portfolio and how it's developed over the last couple of months?
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute so that we don't have feedback.
One of the things that we've really been discussing, looking at with the portfolio, is firstly to make it as simple as possible. Firstly to make it as secure as possible, and secondly to make it as simple as possible. So in a lot of places, security and simplicity don't match up, and for the students as well as for the faculty, it needs to be simple, and there needs to be clear auditing and a clear system whereby people can vouch for something, and they can assert that somebody learned a certain set of skills, whether they be faculty or whether they learned sets of skills outside of a side, and people have come into a cert where they've learned these skills, and of course all the data. Oplerno will be collecting a large quantity of data about students, but also data about faculty, of course. In the course of learning something and professing, or at least telling people that you have skills, it also means that a lot of data is generated. So whether you're it doesn't matter what kind of skill, whether you have a certain anthropology skill or certain other skills, sociology. If this is all information which might be interesting for you, for employers, but could also be interesting for other parties. So our main goal is to make sure that any of the data can only be accessed when you authorize that your data is accessed, of course. So we have a multi-level security. I know for some of you, we've had some Oplernos on in the past on such as securing your data and two-factor authentication on Tor. And there's always been discussions on that we're adding a certain level of complexity, and there's a choice for people to use these systems. To secure the data better, and we advise it, of course, that it's best to secure your data. We're not going to force you into any type of security, and anything that we're doing ourselves. So encrypting all your data in the database is going to be standard. You don't have anything extra to do for that. Other elements are all going to be standard. Secure connections, they're all going to be standard. You don't have to do anything for that. So we're going to keep as much of the security as easy and transparent as possible, and give you the possibility to add extra layers of security to that if you need to.
Let me jump in for a second. Oplerno has an opt-in. Excuse me. Oplerno has an opt-in policy, meaning that if you want to share your data with somebody, you have to opt in. And we are really taking the notion of privacy, like Daniel said, that's one for us. So we're never going to sell your data to anyone. We are not going to share your data with anyone unless you authorize it. So we're not going to be part of creating these massive skills portfolios and starting to run experiments or doing analysis that you don't authorize or you don't know about, because that's just you own yourself, you own your data. This portfolio is about your education, and it's about nobody else's. It's about your teaching, and that is a policy that we are not going to be changing, and that we are not going to be um, selling or using that data that we have in the portfolio system unless you opt in. Okay, it's not an opt-out policy. In other words, where you got to read a huge um, user guide and then understand all the different loopholes we built into a particular contract. It's an opt-in. If you want to use if you want to have some of your portfolio data placed online for an institution like as part of a job search, you're going to opt in for that. We're not going to automatically place that in there for you. So just realize that that privacy piece is something that we take extremely seriously, and we're really lucky to have Daniel on board to make sure that that we have those types of functions as best we can. And we're also not going to be storing a whole lot of data in terms of our portfolio in the United States because, to be blunt, the laws in the States are not good about individuals' data privacy, and the laws in the EU are much better. And so most of our data is going to be overseas and not in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are still some issue regarding law that we have to make sure that we sort out. Of course, within especially for storage of data, we want to make sure that it's not accessible to anybody except for people who you authorize to access your data. So we have to make sure that we're trying to make sure that that we can ensure this and abide by the laws of any place that we're in, of course. But as I said, one of our second aspect is also the ease of use. So the ease of use is so important. We want people to be able to clearly see what they're getting out of it. Their information goes in there, such as the skills that they've learned, the certificates that they've had, the courses that they've taken, and these get into a graph and form the basis of certificates and of bachelor's and of master's degrees and other or any of degrees such as they're given in outside the United States. So there's very much trying to keep the information that keep the information as simple as possible and as transparent as possible. So you can actually see, what am I going to get out of this? I've got these skills. Which type of degree can I get out of it? What am I showing towards the outside world, of course, as well. I've got a question here. With research skills certificate, I want students to develop an idea question through the 5 classes, all with the artifacts increasingly sophisticated research designs and analysis. That wasn't completely clear. Oh, I think that goes along with the skills portfolio. Yeah, that absolutely. This certainly there'll be the possibility for transfer, but I think Rob is probably better able to answer that question.
So one of the things about storing projects is to start off our MVP, minimal viable product, that we're working to develop is, remember that each class at Oplerno should have a list of between 6 and 10 skills that a student is going to learn in that class, skills or content areas. So if you want to, and in a couple of different sessions we outlined how that could be documented. It could be documented with video clips, with text, with some audio pieces. I suppose it also could be if you had a particular project, whether it's a larger paper or maybe a website or a multimedia tool, something with multimedia. That link or potentially that file can be placed, within the skills portfolio to look at a particular skill. Of course, the constraints is, data storage, certain kinds of costs, and so what we're going to want to do is, we're going to develop the tools so that there can be all kinds of ways to use, to have the documentation over several different classes, all kinds of, as you said, Colleen, all kinds of different artifacts and such that shows ever-increasing amounts of sophistication. Can they count for multiple classes or multiple skills? Sure, sounds good. It's going to take some feedback, some analysis that we're all going to have to do together to see whether that's effective, but there's no particular reason why that can't happen.
So, Colleen also asks if with standardization, with this portfolio skill program, will skill wording be standardized across courses? Of course, you know as well as I do that I'll word something differently than you'll word it, or we'll classify something differently, or slightly differently. So something such as critical thinking could have a lot of different interpretations of it. Will there be standardization across the courses, Rob?
See, that's the brilliant thing about the process right now is that, if you take a large word like critical thinking, it means many different things to many people. So it's not going to be, there's not going to be only the list of the skill, but you're going to have to have your definition and your demonstration that this met that particular definition. We're also going to get into, this is where we're going to get into arguments as faculty and as experts. There's going to have to be, and I see it more as like the, open source Wikipedia kind of editing process, where if I say, okay, critical thinking is the ability to think critically, okay? I could put that as a definition on my, in terms of that skill, but very quickly faculty are going to go absolute, and outsiders are going to say, well, that's a circular definition. That doesn't work. Here's a better definition, okay? And we're going to edit, and we're going to argue, and we're going to start honing particular things down. So maybe then, since I'm teaching this critical thinking course within the context of the environment, okay, we would say critical thinking, this project demonstrates critical thinking along the line of certain environmental issues. So, critical thinking is probably not something that is going to be, submit one paper and, hey, you're a critical thinker. It's going to be a series of different types of examples that fit that particular skill, that show that you have an understanding of something, and then that you can demonstrate your knowledge of it. So that's going to be where things get fun, because that's when we can really have, great intellectual debates and start hashing things out as a community and as departments. And, that's where we're going to get into some, the fun part of creating a new type of learning and understanding. So I see it as a very, again, an open source, argumentation. Wikipedia will be the final arbiters, okay? But it's going to be clear that other members of the community and the public are going to be involved in that debate, and maybe we turn over that particular curation function to a group of people, maybe connected with Oplerno or outside of Oplerno later on. Just like Wikipedia. They have internal people who work for them, but the vast majority of the great work is done by other individuals outside the formal organizational structure.
Great, thanks, Rob. Let's see. Oh, I don't think we have any more questions. So to continue, one of the points that Rob has made, of course, and he's made it in the past in videos before now, is that he wants to he wants to make the interface very nice. And I think Rob has a couple of nice slides with the Prometheus interface of the idea that he has in his mind. But we're very much looking also for input on that as well as we go along, and people to look at that and to find out what is going to work best for people and what's going to work best for you. And yeah.
Yeah. So, whoops. Go ahead.
No. Please, sorry.
Okay. So let me talk a little bit about the first drafts of the interface. In terms of trying to come up with the different skills lists, we have I've got a bunch of different files on Excel which list skills in particular classes of stuff that I've taught in the past. Then I think the first GUI is going to look like a little bit like the Khan Academy piece, okay, where that I showed you in. Let me show the slide. So the particular Khan Academy. Whoops. Hold on.
This is the Prometheus interface one.
Yes, here we are. So here's the Khan Academy slide, or if we, let me zoom in on it a little bit. Khan Academy has done a brilliant job of creating a hierarchical skills portfolio, really, using mathematics and the development of mathematical skills from addition and subtraction and number lines straight up through concepts in calculus and statistics. So at a particular point in time, we're going to, as we develop, again, if we have over 100 courses under development right now, each of them, again, submitting between 6 and 10 skills. That's probably going to end up between 600 and probably 800 different skills that we're going to have outlined, and then it's figuring out potentially relationships between those and progressions. Now that's a very, you think about it, that's a very complex task that we're setting ourselves for, but I also think it's a really fun task as we get more community input into drawing those particular linkages. And that first step is sort of your, two-dimensional images and linkages with a portfolio as you're moving through. I see finally at the end of the day, not to get too sci-fi, but the best image that I can come up with is something that's on a smartphone that projects, okay, into a room that is basically kind of a three-dimensional image that you can get into to see an individual or connections of knowledge. In this picture, from that movie Prometheus, it basically is it summarizes the development of different types of civilizations and their positions in the in the galaxy, and all these little symbols. If you can't see them, look it up online. These different symbols stand for particular things, and they show what a particular group has developed in terms of their technology. And what I see is some type of tool or object that acts as a way for an individual to show another person, hey, look at all the particular skills I have. These are the skills I have in my understanding of sustainability, and you can pull up that section of your portfolio and have that nicely visually represented. But that's 3 or 4 iterations down, down from this simple yet incredibly rich tool that the Khan Academy has developed. Their work is excellent, but we can take the principle that they've done with mathematics, and we should be able to apply that to most of the different disciplines um, most of the different disciplines in the sciences, social sciences, in addition to thinking about the humanities. There is a way to graphically represent your knowledge of Shakespeare or your knowledge of um, uh, Madhyamaka philosophy. There's a way to show that you know particular content areas. There's a way to show that you know how to do certain kinds of statistical analysis. And we should be able to capture that in some fashion so that people can not only show what they know, but also, click on, if you can see my cursor, it has this thing, linear equations 2. Okay, if I click on linear equations 2 in Khan Academy, I'm going to be given a bunch of exercises on linear equations 2. But what we should be able to do is I click on this, and it'll show how different exercises that I've done that show that I know how to apply the notion of a linear equation, and what exactly my, how I've taken theoretical knowledge and applied it to a real-world situation, and that might be, videos, that might be text, that might be an audio representation. So it's going to take us a little bit to get there, and that first step is going to be having faculty members and students create these lists of between 6 and 10 skills.
Yeah, one of the what I see especially with this picture is that it makes it so clear. Also, it shows how important it is that we have groupings of certificates and groupings of degrees, so that you can actually see the things that are related to each other. Things that are either tangentially related to each other, or things which are very closely related to each other, such as your sustainability courses, or such as the sustainability courses. And we can really get a good overview and see what are the results of doing a particular course or doing a particular set of courses.
Yeah, there's also a whole lot of other designs that we've come up with that we don't want to share quite yet. We don't want to give you all the magic right off the bat in woodblock. There are other people. There are also other groups that are working along similar lines, and we're really excited to find out who they are and potentially also adapt their technologies. So if you're a computer programmer and you're watching this, or you've got a small company and you're doing work along this line, please get in contact with us. There's no reason why, if you have something that's really great and works, why you couldn't, why we couldn't work with you on improving your your product, on improving what you're up to. So again, we're an open learning organization. We're not going to be able to do everything, but we are really interested in connecting with people doing innovative work, innovative programming, innovative teaching, and really pushing the limits on what good pedagogy is. So I think that's a pretty good overview, unless you want to say anything else, Daniel.
No, I think that's an excellent overview. I get a very clear view of, or at least I have a disadvantage or a bias because I already know some of the system, but I got a good idea that we're being people will be able to understand what we're talking about, and people will enjoy. Certainly enjoyed being able to use the portfolio system once it's finished.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for tuning in to this Oplerno workshop, to this woodblock workshop, woodblock 2014, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, or tomorrow evening, wherever you are in the world. And again, thank you very much for your time, and feel free to contact us on our website, on our Twitter feed, and in any kind of social media. We probably have a presence there. So look us up, and thank you for your time.
And we'll see you online.
And we'll see you online, yes.